the way we handled separation and relationships as a child strongly impact the way we currently manage our relationships as an adult. And so let's talk a little bit about attachment theory and attachment disorders. So I have here the four main attachment styles. You have secure attachment, and people who are securely attached, their relationship with their parents was one of love and nurturing and protection and caring, and they feel very confident. Avoidant attachment are the people that consider themselves loners. They usually avoid emotional situations. They understand the gravity of emotions, and they seek to find a logical basis for them. Avoidant attachment is one where, as a child, those emotions, that nurturing, caregiving, wasn't really cultivated, and so they stay on that logical side. If you watch my video on the transactional theory and the relationship with your inner self, you'll understand that concept of nurturing that caregiver inside of you, or a lack of nurturing that caregiver, and what that can do on a long-term basis. Anxious attachment. Anxious attachment or fearful attachment is one where your relationships as a child were very insecure. You might have had significant loss or trauma, and that's affected whether you feel that people will be there for you emotionally. And then disorganized attachment. They react to nurturing negatively. They react to care and support negatively because they don't trust it. They just have had significant trauma in their life, and they tend to disassociate from their emotions because of trauma. And so disorganized attachment is just very difficult. And that played out in adulthood leads to a lot of just very difficult relationship issues. And simply because they both avoid emotions, but they're fearful, and they have a lot of distrust, a lot of jealousy, a lot of anger, and then in deep emotional relationships, they tend to default back to their disassociation from their childhood trauma. And so that's just very, very difficult, and that's definitely a therapeutic issue. So what does this mean for you? First, if you've watched my video on the transactional theory and your internal self, then you understand that I strongly encourage people to get to know their internal process. And it's important for you to know your attachment style, how you attach yourself to people, how what things you look for in relationships, what your base expectations are in those relationships. And so much of that goes back to what was needing or lacking in your life. If you've watched my video on the circle of pain, then you should have walked through the process of that original trauma that's left these deep, unfulfilled needs that are in your life that all people have, but yours was unfulfilled, and therefore it's left a void in your life, and it's negatively impacted your day-to-day experiences. So if you walk through the circle of pain and you understand whether your protector or your caregiver or your inner child is maladaptive or uncultivated, then you should have a clear idea of which attachment category you would fall under and what that played out would look like. The interesting fact, though, is that we often are attracted to the opposite of what our attachment disorders or our attachment categories are displayed. So understanding where you're coming from and what you're attracted to, what's the other side of that you're bringing into your life, is so critical, because then you can go and you can look back on your internal process and begin trying to meet your own needs there. If you're dealing with any of these disorders or any of these negative relationship characteristics, then that's up to you to really challenge yourself to grow that side of yourself and to really begin doing that self-work, being aware of where your deficits are, being aware of the internal pain that contributed to growing those deficits, and really strengthen yourself in those areas of weakness. But that's where you get started. You go back to that place and you begin to nurture and grow and take responsibility for those areas in your life that left you at a deficit. And then understand how the relationships in your life impact that, and how you can cultivate healthy relationships that bring out the best in you. I hope you found this video helpful. Remember that YouTube is no substitute for therapy. If you liked this video, please click the thumbs up button and subscribe. Also, follow us on Facebook at mentalhealth.taranichols.